time, Dr. Freeman? Is it really that time again? Welcome back, lads, to the fields of northern France and the fjords of the northern north. Today we're going to be discussing the world's wackiest tactics in the hit smash game Battlefield 5, the fifth installment in the Fields Battling franchise. These tactics are going to be tier listed and be put in various different categories, depending if they are good, bad, and a bit silly. We start at F and move all the way up the ladder, all the way to S tier.
Fucking yes! Oh shit.
So without further ado, let us continue. Starting off with the traditional one, long-range sniping is pretty useless. It's boring, you kill like 3 people in a 40-minute conquest game, and it's pretty ineffective. Instead of playing as a medic and reviving your teammates to help keep a push on an objective alive, or like playing support and repairing tanks to instigate an armored offensive, you choose to do this. Incredibly boring and probably one of the worst tactics to do in any Battlefield game, period. F tier. Firecrackers. These were added in the last update of the game, so nearly half a decade ago at this point.
That counts.
Anyways, the idea behind a firecracker is to throw them at some poor dazed American soldier on the beaches of Iwo Jima and make the American run towards the gunfire and then hoodwink them by actually shooting them in the back of the head. But really, in practice, it just doesn't work. It's literally one of the most nothing burger items ever. I've actually tried to get a few kills with these things, and every time it's been a complete failure. F tier. The sniper decoy, another item that sounds really good in practice, and then, well, again, just does not work. The idea behind this one is placing it down and hoping that some half-brain-celled sniper will shoot you instead of the decoy that you place down. But obviously, if your brain has grown beyond the spinal column, this will not trick you at all. And to get this item, you either have to sacrifice a spawn beacon or a grenade rifle, each of which is far more useful. Honestly, even the no gadget spot is genuinely more useful than this one. F tier. AT mines. These things are pretty useless and honestly just really boring. These fall under the sit there and wait for something to happen category, but unlike some of those items, this one especially is, well, unfun. In genuinely trying to use these things in an actual game, I got an absolutely immense 0 kills. The only way to have a morsel of fun with them is by throwing them on top of a tank and getting out just before it shoots you. But even then, why not just use some dynamite? Yeah! F tier. Spotting and the spotting scope. Spotting was absolutely amazing before BF5 came out. It made sense and wasn't broken. The way it worked in BF1 and 4 is that you would press Q on the keyboard and you would spot someone, but for whatever reason they just got rid of this. I genuinely don't really know what they were thinking when they came to that decision, but hey, at least it's not the biggest disaster that this game development studio's ever made. F tier. Firestorm, the game mode. When this game came out, DICE was somewhat respected by the Battlefield community for actually hitting it out of the park so much with Battlefield 1, so naturally people were expecting a really good Battlefield game somewhere for 2018 or 19, and well, we got that. Well, scrap the good part. But in those cursed years, one particular game had been taking the world by storm, Fortnite, and Firestorm was effectively DICE's competitor to Fortnite, so they could eat some of the Battle Royale market up. And what's so unfortunate about Firestorm is that it was genuinely good. Well, it could have been. It had the gunplay, a large map, it was interesting and fun to play. The only hurdle is that you had to own Battlefield 5 to play it. It immediately died post-release and got no content except for one update.
Bravo, DICE, you fucking hit it out the park, mate.
This genuinely annoys me so much. I would actually play this if they updated this, and I don't know why they don't. And with rumours for another Battle Royale coming with the next game's release, please just make it a separate game and make it free, or just don't do one at all and actually focus on making a game where it's like good and soldiers don't say this.
That was something, right? That was something, right? That was something, right? That was something, right? Die soll bilden und erziehen unsere Generation.
Demolition grenades. These lads are really garbage. They're called grenades, but don't really act like a grenade at all. It's basically a low-powered anti-tank mine, and calling it a mine would definitely be more fitting. When I use these lads, I usually combine it with another explosive like a boomstick or a piat, but on their own, they're really, really ineffective. Like, you can barely do anything with them. So, yeah, combining it with a piat or a broomstick is definitely the best way to use these things, but honestly, it's still not a great result.
Anyways, D tier.
Another item that's in D tier is the Stug, or the Sturmgeschütz 4. This tank absolutely sucks. Think a Panzer 4, but infinitely worse. So you can't rotate the turret, a really crappy cannon that doesn't really do much damage, slower than a Panzer 4, and honestly, I don't even really know why you'd use this thing, except trying to get all the unlocks for it. But even then, the issues with the tank itself are baked into the cake. You can't really get rid of them. Like for the fact you can't rotate the turret, which is really, really bad in a Battlefield game, especially when you have some annoying up-close and personal anti-tank support class guy. So, yeah, honestly,
That's retarded. Oh.
very useless. D tier. The Kampfpistole. Think of it like a pistol grenade, like a grenade pistol. See, like you got a pistol and it has a grenade on it. Wow. It probably means that in German. I mean, I can't speak German. Kampf. I thought that was like fight or struggle. I don't even know. I really genuinely don't know. The German language confuses me. But yeah, it makes sense if it actually was called the struggle pistol, because it is genuinely a struggle to use this thing. The only way you can really get kills for it is by just throwing the projectile directly into a crowd of people. Honestly, you don't really get into that situation much, and it's basically just a rifle grenade launcher, but just infinitely worse. D tier.
Oh.
The sticky grenade is also one of those grenades that sort of makes you think, why? Pretty useless, honestly, as you only get one of them, and they do a pretty low amount of damage compared to some of the other alternatives, like the Type 99 mine, or the impact grenade. Definitely a D tier. I'm using a flamethrower in this game.
In the water.
On to C tier, where the tactics get a little bit more fun. First off, we're starting with a pretty generic one, building. Something that most people forget was actually a feature in this game, and honestly, I kind of like it. It's not really that fun though, more just something you can do to get some extra points and make it harder for tanks to get through some certain choke points. But the places in the map where you can actually build fortifications are embedded into the map, so you can't really be that creative with it, which makes it a lot less fun. Definitely a C tier. Bombers. A lot of people might disagree with me on this one, but I actively hate people who just use bombers. I've never really found too much fun in them, apart from using them with friends, which can actually be pretty alright.
The Nazis entered this war under the rather childish delusion that they were going to bomb everybody else and nobody was going to bomb them.
Okay.
I'm
Third is
hitting
on us. Missed the. Needs to go lower.
Don't tell them that you're supposed to, you know, push.
Oh!
Oh.
Oh yeah. 412. Nice.
Nice.
Took out an anti-air gun and a couple of guys.
Yep.
And it's over. If that.
Oh, you're such...
Across the map. He's already lighting us up. He's already lighting us up. I'm gonna try and
Holy sh...
Alright. Just hold. Whoa.
Do you know what? Should we go spawn on D and kill this guy?
Match. Where is he? There. Dead.
That him?
Think so. Oh, we're taking
No.
fire from.
Yeah. Shoot the AT mine I put
Where's
down.
the 18
Right next to me. Right next to me.
I can't hit it.
We killed him. We killed him.
Come on. 43 damage.
I hit an enemy for 56 damage. Yeah! 56 damage, guys. Bean! I killed him! I killed him!
It actually sucks.
This game does suck.
I just generally don't really like the idea of bombs being dropped from the sky and there being no way to avoid it without being completely deleted instantly. The way Battlefield 1 did it is where biplanes would drop a bunch of grenades and there'd at least be a few seconds to get out. However, it doesn't really make much sense for a World War II game if you implemented the same system, so I guess I get it. C tier.
Bomber Harris!
The Panzerfaust. Honestly, the worst of the three anti-tank
Wow, this
launchers in the
thing
game,
sucks.
at least to my taste. It's painfully average and doesn't really do anything interesting or fun. Another one with Faust in the name is the Fliegerfaust. I actually really like this gadget. It's the only anti-air gadget in the entire game, and it really takes its anti-air label very seriously. This thing practically controls X's a plane instantly, providing you lead your shots. It's pretty shit against anything else really. I mean, I tried killing some people with it. Honestly, it's really ineffective against anything apart from a plane. So I'm gonna give it a C tier, as well as the Panzerfaust.
Wow.
Impact grenades. These are a pretty bad grenade type, honestly. They're pretty viable on maps like Operation Underground and Fiel, but that's really about it. They're also not instant impact grenades, as they have a minimum time to arm themselves, so it's actually pretty bad in most cases, especially trying to use it against a tank. Definitely a C tier at best. Intentionally using shit weapons. Most weapons in this game are actually pretty good, so there aren't actually a wide variety of weapons you can truly call terrible. There is no real equivalent to the Mare's Leg or the Phantom Bow from Battlefield 4, which is definitely disappointing, if I'm being honest. But there is the Liberator, the P08 pistol with a really zoomed sight, the infrared sniper, and some other weapons I can think of, which I'll put up on screen right now. This is generally a pretty fun strategy, but 90% of the time, you'll eat complete shit. So I appreciate my reactions when I finally get a few kills with the Liberator. C tier.
I got it! Yes!
The Piat is a type of rocket launcher, and personally, one of my favourites, if I'm being honest. I really like the Piat because of the amount of damage it does. It's actually really high, and it also has a secret feature that you probably didn't know about. It actually has a built-in mortar inside of it, which is really, really cool. I actually really like this thing. It's also incredibly good for absolutely melting any infantry in its path, as opposed to the Panzerfaust and the Bazooka, which are usually pretty bad at that specific task. Road killing is basically just running people over with any type of vehicle, but when you're purposely going for road killings, especially out in the open, you need to be stealthy, or otherwise you'll get insta-sniped and become very unhappy.
No! I'll take this guy out though. He didn't have headphones on. Another one? This never gets old. Maybe it does.
My favourite way of doing this is running people over on the map Provence with a tractor, probably one of the rarest.
Yes! Yeah!
The flare gun is pretty self-explanatory, if I'm being honest. You just get the regular one, or the German dual Doppelschuss version, aim it at the sky within a relatively short radius, and you'll get a portion of the points when someone kills someone you've spotted. Wow mate, look at all those points. C tier. Using the meta weapons, there are a few of these like the Type 2A, SMG, Sturmgewehr 15, ZG 383, STG 44, and the Krag Jorgensen. Those are probably the most complained about weapons on the subreddit, and for good reason. Most of these weapons are actually really good, although they're not very interesting to actually play with. Most of these just involve holding down the left mouse button until the person is dead, which is true for all weapons. They just don't do it in a very unique or interesting way. Just use some more interesting weapons, lads. I am absolutely sick of getting killed by the Type 2A every single round without fail. C tier. The frag grenade is a quintessential component of every single first-person shooter, and it's not really any different here. I don't really use these lads too often. There are definitely better grenades out there, but they are pretty useful for getting enemies to scram out of a certain area you want them to scram out of, or perhaps dealing with enemies that are scurrying away. C tier at best. The AP mine, or the anti-personal mine. I don't really like these guys too much, especially in Battlefield 5. This game's maps are way bigger, at least they feel like it, than Battlefield 1's maps, so I think these lads serve a pretty useless purpose. I think they're good on Operation Underground and a few of the other smaller maps like Fiel, but that's really it. There are definitely better things to equip, with these guys only really being good for holding a choke point, but not much else. Anyways, the AP mine is certainly not useless, but it can be limited by how little damage it does. You actually need to damage an enemy to usually get a kill. C tier. C4 launching. In other games like Battlefield 4, you could very easily C4 launch because friendly explosives exert force on friendly vehicles, at least in that game. This changed in Battlefield 5, and now you can only really do this with your own explosives. Even then, the distance you can go with a C4 launch is way more disappointing compared to 4, so it's been downgraded a lot. If it were more like 4, I would place it more around A tier or S tier. But since it's not really like that, here's some footage of me and my mate Zach playing around with it. I think we got one good attempt, and that was it.
It worked. Okay.
Alright, 1 minute. Don't detonate it just yet.
Oh, wow.
Alright, that'll send me forward. Ready? I'm at F. I'm at F. And I blew up. Yeah, but no, I took hits in the fall. I feel like we can't coordinate with him, so just when he
Yeah.
detonates it. Oh.
Alright, yeah, that kind of worked.
Oh, that's
Oh, we could have hit that guy if we'd done it a few seconds later.
It's definitely a C tier item. Knife only can be an incredibly fun tactic to do if you know what you're doing, but also if you're playing the right game mode too, with Conquest definitely being the best one, as people are more spread out, thus making it easier to flank enemies from behind. Equipping the throwing knives as the recon class can be done for some extra LARP, but they aren't very good on, if I'm being honest, and surprisingly cannot penetrate tanks from more than 200 meters away. Very disappointing. C tier. Anti-materiel squads. I originally had this idea thinking that it would be really good, but nah, not really, especially if you don't have enough people to play Battlefield 5 with you, like me. Our positioning was bad, sure, but the damage done from a Panzerpusher or the Boys AT rifle is pretty pathetic compared to a regular tank, which is kind of depressing, but hey, not really much you can do about it, especially at long ranges. I was at least expecting it to do some sort of damage like the Tank Hunter Elite class from Battlefield 1, which, yeah, sure, it probably shouldn't do as much damage as that fat cannon, but it at least should do like half or something, as opposed to 4 damage. C tier, sounds really fun, but not really too practical if I'm being honest.
Give us a,
C tier.
alright.
He just
One
he
more
popped
hit.
smoke. He's pop smoke. He's pop smoke.
I hit
I
him
hit him
once.
for 20.
I'm dead again.
I hit him for
Come
another
on, keep
20.
hitting. It's on fire. Hit him again.
Hit him. Get him, boys. Vietnam. Vietnam. Partisan tactics. Partisan tactics.
No!
After Zan. He's about to go
I
down
think
now.
he used
Feel it.
emergency repair.
Got him.
Squad spawn.
I don't think
You're
he
about
did.
to go
Partisan
no.
tactics.
No, I'm Keemstar.
Welcome to B tier, where the tactics are actually somewhat fun, and to commemorate that we start off with one of the first actually fun tactics. Drive-bys. Just like Chicago, hop in a buggy with your friends, if you have any, and equip a machine gun and drive very quickly towards an enemy objective. Then, commence mass shootings with reasonable effectiveness. All you need is a buggy. Not this one though, you can do roadkills, shoot unsuspecting soldiers, and put your foot on the gas when you see so much as an armoured vehicle. B tier. Incendiary grenades, or fire grenades. Simple and very effective, at least at blocking off choke points, because surprisingly, people usually don't really like to run through fire. You don't usually get many kills with these, more just copious amounts of hit markers. You can also, when in intense battle, throw a grenade on a corpse to make sure no medics can revive that person without burning to death themselves. Kind of grim, but World War II wasn't exactly a nice time period in human history. B tier. Grenade rifles. These are probably the most effective on close quarters maps like Fiel and Operation Underground, and you can get plenty of kills with them. There are 2 different variations of these, the regular grenade rifle and the Japanese hand mortar. although the regular one is definitely easier to handle for most people. The reason why I think the Japanese one is just superior is because it has this mechanic which allows you to, if you're skilled enough, make it so the mortar shell would just explode in someone's face. Brilliant. B tier. Lunge mines, Minecraft TNT and a big stick. Very useful, does a lot of damage, often the thing I use to finish off tanks. B tier. And we have an entire system, vehicle call-ins, or specifically squad reinforcements. As you play the game, you'll get these points next to your squad leader, which build up slowly. These are called requisition points. I don't know that they were called that. The thing in the video said they were called that. You can use these lads to do various different things like call in mass amounts of smoke, supply canisters, or big lads like the Pack Wagon, Sturmtiger, or even better, the Churchill Crocodile. I really like this system personally. My main gripe with it is, like, by the time that you've got all the points to get something interesting or fun, the round's ended. What a great system. You can also get the V2 and the JB2 rockets, which are really, really cool, and with some good positioning, can get you insane amounts of kills. Definitely a B tier.
Don't mind Sigma, I'm dying.
Kamikaze. I think we all know this one. You don't have to be Japanese to do this. For example, right here I did this tactic on Thiel because the little ants that crawl around on the ground. You could also do the full LARP and like listen to Banzai charges in Japanese, but you don't really have to. Here's some footage of me doing it. It's pretty fun honestly, but not too effective as you destroy your plane in the process, obviously. B tier. AA tanks, or mobile anti-air. Some people may hate me for this one, but I don't really use these intentionally. A real man goes and rushes the enemy team with its incredibly light armor, shit guns, and will be instantly blown up with anything as powerful as a Liberator. B tier, not really particularly effective, but very funny. The flamethrowers. I'm gonna throw both of these in. So the pistol flamethrower used by the German Volkssturm in the last depressing days of the war, and also the regular American M2 flamethrower. I really like the flamethrowers in this game honestly, however they can sometimes be an absolute hit marker machine and get like literally no kills. You can get a bunch of assists though, but that's not really too fun now, is it? It's not really my experience with it, however, although I do see a lot of criticism calling them just hit marker machines, especially with the secret one on Operation Underground. People don't really expect it, and with everyone being packed in like sardines on that map, it can be scarily useful. B tier. Squads, the backbone of every Battlefield game. Well, most of them. Ignore the most recent one. The simple idea behind this tactic is, well, getting a few friends together and playing a certain role as a 4. So, a flame squad would all carry pistol flamethrowers and burn everything in its path. The anti-materiel squad sounded pretty good in theory, but when me and my mates Peter and Zach tried it, it didn't really work too well. MG squad is another that I'll leave you guys to figure out for yourselves. 4 is better than 1, and it's usually probably more effective to do things as a 4 than as a 1. B tier. Stationary weapons in general, so your machine guns, stationary artillery, flak stations, etc. These are usually pretty powerful weapons, but are limited in scope as well, because they're stationary and cannot move. Wow. And for our final item in B tier, bayonet charging. Bayonets are actually in this game in Battlefield 5, although you probably wouldn't know that as they actually need to be selected as an upgrade in the trait path embedded into every weapon. It's usually at the bottom too. Bayonet charging is pretty fun, and stabbing through the heart of the enemy sounds great, but it's not really too effective unless it's just you and them.
I'm a great crusader!
Welcome to A tier, the truly great and fun strategies. First off, another item involving buggies. Toyotas, more specifically. ISIS Toyotas, even more specifically. That's right, just spawn at the back of your map, wait for a buggy to spawn, get some dynamite, strap it to the car, locate a tank, and plunge towards victory. A tier. Smoke grenades. God, I love these things so much. They're the best thing to pick in every loadout ever. Smoke grenades lay down an incredibly thick layer of grey smoke in a 10 to 15 meter radius around when you threw it, and it makes it practically impossible to see anything within it. Now that's good enough on its own and would probably secure a spot in B tier by itself, but there is one strategy I love doing with these things, especially in close quarters map: laying down smoke in a crowd of enemies, unleashing a knife, and wreaking havoc amongst the petrified soldiers as they slowly watch their comrades get bludgeoned one by one. Kind of grim, but not really in a Battlefield game. A tier.
Grenade out.
Another pretty wacky one is the bazooka fart. For some reason, instead of actually adding some content into this game, the game developers decided to code this in, and was probably really tired of actually doing anything useful, so they decided to model an in real life, really tiny detail into the game. The way rocket launchers work is that a rocket is percussion fired and the gases escape from the nozzle at high velocity at the back. This gas then escapes at the other end of the rocket launcher and is incredibly hot, easily enough to kill someone. And they actually modelled this in game, but it's not really too effective. It is pretty funny though. A tier. Shotguns in Battlefield 5 are actually relatively weak, especially compared to other titles, but they're still really fun on close quarters map. Why send an entire mag of a Type 2A when a well-placed shot of lead pellets is all you need? Very easy to clear rooms with in Operation Underground, but it's pretty useless on any other map. A tier. Historical. When you load into a game of Battlefield 5, observe what map you're playing, as well as the team you're playing on, and create your loadout to match with it. To make it even better, have a northerner from Britain attempt to do an impression of a German on your team. In all seriousness though, this is pretty fun just for the novelty of it, because a lot of the weapons in this game are just generally good, with there being few that are actually bad. So naturally, most of the weapons you'd be stuck playing with in this game are actually naturally kind of good as well.
Evans from Poland is ours.
Poland doesn't exist.
And Fuhrer, the cameramen, have prevented us giving the assaults. Max Design Pros reportedly prevented us from saying, "What? Help me." I was singing the brain rot version of Teufel's Lied. The OG marches in Ohio and sings a brain rot song. And Fuhrer, the cameramen,
And we have the classes, all of them. They're actually pretty well balanced in this game as opposed to Battlefield 1. They all deserve the same spot really. I play Medic in this game way more because all of the weapons aren't just the Saragotti with extra steps. Thank God I never have to play with that garbage ever again from Battlefield 1. The balancing is way better in this game when it comes to classes. The gadgets make sense, although I am annoyed that throwing knives are only available on the Recon class. Please fix this, DICE, although you're probably too busy caring for Battlefield 2042 at this point. Honestly, they're not even doing that at this point, so they're probably making another bad game that everyone's gonna hate at the launch. Anyways, A tier. And with that being our final for A tier, let's move on to the truly great strategies. S tier.
Boris will have my full support as he does that.
Well, I don't know why he's talking to a tree.
First off, let's start off with the big lads, the tanks. Tanks are a fundamental fact of life in the battlefield. These weapons are genuinely powerful enough to completely change the tide of an entire game with their powerful guns and large amounts of HP. We have the German tanks like the Panzer IV, the Puma and the Tiger tank, the Shermans for the Americans, the Valentine and the Churchill for the British, and the Chi-Ha for the Japanese. All of these have their strengths and weaknesses, but generally these are probably the best vehicles in the game as a general rule of thought. Being naughty at the back of the map, or specifically capturing the enemy objectives at the back of the map, as opposed to where all the fighting is, usually in the middle. You can usually cause a nuisance for some enemy newly spawned armor, kill their reinforcement soldiers, and capture the point to help your team defeat the others. Naughty. That's kind of the end of the regular tactics. The tactics that can be sometimes be expected, and some others that can be less expected. However, these are the truly great ones. Some of them are completely f***ed, and others are just weird. What are the best guns in this game? Maybe the Suomi submachine gun, fast firing and accurate? No. The Krag Jorgensen, high power and damage sniper rifle that will kill most enemies in one hit? No. The STG-44, fast firing assault rifle with very little recoil and spread, ideal for middle range combat? No. The M1 Garand? No. Get ready for it, lads, it's the finger gun. In several maps in the game, like Aros and Aerodrome, you'll see these weird little boxes with shovels on them, and if you're really lucky, you'll get a green light, meaning that you'll be able to find the finger guns. The shovel on top of the box will spin, asking you to go in that direction if you want to get them. The gun does a whopping 10 damage, and I haven't gotten a kill with it myself, but it's pretty cool. S tier. Another reload Easter egg is the Star Wars M1 Garand reloads. You'll find this thing on an March encampment on the C flag, and if your entire squad is near it, plus has the M1 Garand equipped, you'll now get some Star Wars themed reloads. Neat.
Bible. Where is it? Where'd it go?
The X-Files. The X-Files. The X-Files feed starts playing.
One of you destroyed it, didn't you?
And for our final two tactics, the anti-materiel glitch, and hiding at the back of airfields on various different maps. Hide behind a rock or some shrubbery on various different maps where the enemy has to spawn in on an actual runway when they select a plane. Just get your rocket launcher and then just fire at it constantly. Very good for annoying high-level pilots.
Didn't do any damage, but we got him anyway.
Oh, the guy jumped out.
Well, I got him.
Yeah, true. The guy jumped out.
I popped the heart, pop the heart.
And we have the anti-materiel rifle glitch. Look at this thing. Just fuck. Anyways, that's kind of the end of the video. Second channel video here about the plans for this channel and why it took so long. New content soon, and an announcement video on the second channel for a project I started back in April. Bye lads, I hope to see you soon.